are you going to close before you cater my wedding? And I was like, that's a legitimate question.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fire Ready Aim podcast. I am Jonathan Cowan, and this is my awesome wife here, Brianna.
It's me.
Thanks for tuning in again, checking out an episode, and we have a fun episode today. Well, I hope it's going to be fun. I guess time will tell. So today this is an entrepreneurial podcast. So we're going to be talking about, are you cut out to be an entrepreneur? 7 signs that, bitch, you might be.
I'm so glad you read it like that.
Well, you named them. So,
yep.
So yeah, but basically it's pretty straightforward. We're talking about how do you know if you're ready to be an entrepreneur, and what are the signs?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And honestly, I feel like some of these signs point to people who are trying to be entrepreneurs and maybe aren't cut out for it, even though they're doing it. You know, some people who find themselves like miserable. They've like started a business and they're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have. I mean, it's easier to jump that way and jump back into the non-entrepreneurial life, I think. But either way,
that's a whole nother episode, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, because like I can
out.
Yeah, because I have some ideas right away of like people who are just like not willing to learn anything. They're just like can't wait to get out of their business.
Keep that content for another episode, baby.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So let's get to the point though. Let's talk about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, if you're ready.
Yeah.
Like if you're maybe not an entrepreneur already, or you've been toying with the idea, are you actually ready to be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. So the number one thing I think in life and in entrepreneurship, it's so important. You need to be able to sell. Yes.
That's your number one?
I think it's really important. I think in business, you have to sell.
I literally can't. I put these together. I wouldn't say that that's number one necessarily. It's very important.
Well, it's definitely number one on our list here.
It's definitely number one here.
But we'll start out with these are not in any particular order. But honestly,
asterisk.
You know what makes life
But it is extremely... It is, like, it's in our top 7.
It definitely makes everything a lot easier if you can sell what you're doing.
Yes. And we kind of define it as, of course, like selling your product or service. That's an obvious one. But we have found that there's more to selling than just selling your product or service. Like, yes, you need to do that. But you need to sell... employees on your vision. You need to, if you have investors, you need to sell them on your vision and the growth of your company. You need to sell bankers on if they should trust you with lots of money. And you need to sell kind of your like integrity to your customers. Because for a lot of these businesses, they're just like hoping that you'll deliver. And especially if you're a new entrepreneur, that is tough. Remember, we got so many questions in the beginning, like, are you going to close before you cater my wedding? And I was like, that's a legitimate question. Yeah. I guess in our mind, we were like, that's a stupid question. That would never happen. But they don't know that. You have to sell kind of your trustworthiness.
Well, now from the outside looking in, like at the time, of course, when we were getting those questions, I'd say we were around like 26 or 27 years old. Mm-hmm. And from my perspective now, I totally understand those questions.
Yes.
Especially like both of us working in this tiny little restaurant, and we haven't done that many of the events. So people used to come in for wedding tastings at our tiny little restaurant, and they'd say like, are you going to go out of business before? They're like, are you sure you can do this?
Yeah.
But I would say one way you can sell yourself as you grow a business is ask people for reviews. Mm-hmm. It's very easy for people to look into your business and have social proof of like, oh, wow. They have all these reviews. They obviously know what they're doing. And it's funny getting reviews later where, wow, they had so many good reviews. I thought it was fake, but like, no, they are really good at what they do.
Yep.
It's like, dang, that's kind of cool. But
I feel like we both kind of have our different avenues of being good at selling. I would say on my end, I'm more the like vision for employees, and definitely for like investors. But we both did that side. I feel like you have a real strength, like directly with clients, and then kind of those like key people as we were building our business that you needed to like make those connections with and kind of sell yourself. I feel like you're really good.
Well, honestly, it helps having a product in the first place that's sellable, you know.
Sellable, yes.
And what I would say that made it a lot easier in our journey, and granted, we are 11 years into this somehow already.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy to me.
It's insane.
For this company. And then we did years before that. So I'm a big person. I can never sell something I don't believe in. I'm just not that type of person. When I see those types of people on like my TikTok algorithm pop up, I'm like,
yeah, like the snake oil.
I'm like, gross. I could never do that. But it was so easy along the way to be like, no, I believe in our ability to come up with something to make anything happen. And so that makes it a lot easier to sell.
Yes.
I'm like, I have a Brie on my team. Yes, I'm ready to go. So not everybody has that. Not everybody has that secret sauce. So,
but I also feel like it's just going to make it infinitely more difficult if you start this business and you're like afraid to sell. I also think selling isn't like, it wasn't like we were born and we're born salespeople. Like, you definitely can develop the skill of sales. I think people initially attribute that to like, you're an extrovert, you're probably good at sales and talking to people and things like that. You can definitely learn to sell. It would be nice if it came naturally. A lot of entrepreneurs do have it naturally. And I think it's just a sign that if you're kind of like, you have that itch to get into your own business, if you are good at selling, you might just need to find a product.
Well, I think this is what it comes to me. Like when we had our first restaurant, which was called Old Town Pizza, we sold pizza slices and catering that was just blah, Nothing was special about that place.
Super mid.
Even though I can sell wooden paddle extremely easily because it's easy to sell, with that company, it was more difficult. It's because I wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah.
When we started that, I was like, I am a hard-headed young person, business owner. I can make anything happen as long as I try hard enough. And that's where I learned that's not the truth necessarily. Mm-hmm. But, having a product that you believe in, even if you're not like a natural, like extroverted salesperson-y type person, you can still sell that.
100%.
Because I believe in it, and here's why it's going to work, and blah, blah, blah. As long as you're passionate about it, I think this one is something you can do no matter who you are.
Yes, agreed. Because there are people who, like our sound system guys.
The errors, yeah.
They are, like the guy just like nerds out on sound system, like so much so that I was like, my God, my eyes are glazing over talking to you about it. But he's so passionate about the product that it actually sold me. Like I was like, he's going to take care of me further than I could even think, going into the sound system because he's so passionate about his product and his work. So I think, that is selling, being kind of passionate.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next one then.
All right, you're decisive. All right. So
I feel like you have to be. And this one, I don't know if this one is an innate thing or it's something to be learned. I feel like you can get better at it.
I agree. I think it's something you start with a little bit of decisiveness and then you realize not making a decision is a decision, so you need to be decisive in business. Mm-hmm. So, well.
But I would say if you are on the side of like so cautious that you're paralyzed every time you're presented with options, you're going to have a hard time because literally entrepreneurship is like constant, like A or B, opportunity, or do that. What do you want? Like you're just constantly presented with that. And if you cannot be decisive, you're going to just drown.
I think you get stereotyped a lot of time as when construction people come up to you and they start asking you questions about this or that. They look at you with kind of like an eye of like, I'm worried that she's an indecisive woman who doesn't know what she really wants here. Mm-hmm. And she's just doing this dreamy project that, yay, flowers and butterflies.
Look at the,
But people are always impressed. I see they learn quickly that you are like, all right, give me 3 options. Let's make it happen. Boom, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, life is easier. I definitely, actually thinking back now, you saying that, I definitely used to, I think probably because I had the gift of time, because I had no money. But we had more time to kind of make decisions. I definitely took the time that I had. But I think now I've realized, like, that didn't make for better decisions. Having more time at my disposal to kind of, like, think over, all of my options. Like, I end up making just as good of a decision fast. So save yourself the time and headache and just kind of make one. Like, if you have like 10% of the information, maybe wait a little bit. But I'd say if you have about 50% of the information, make the decision,
I'd say decisiveness is something that visceral feeling during a hiring process for people, where sometimes if you overthink it, then you kind of screw it up sometimes. Where
That's
sometimes
true.
you're just like, gosh, my gut, really feels good about this. Of course, we need to do our other things to make sure we are making a good hire, but I feel healthy.
Actually,
I know you're going to say, shoot.
I would say with hiring, you can trust your gut on who not to hire, but you can't trust your gut on who to hire.
So I'm going to go 180 on what I just said. But I will say that...
Okay, real time. Just rolling it back. No,
I will say one thing is like, but you do still have those gut feelings. I'm not saying you have to go with them always on hiring, but like with Chef Patrick, when we brought him into the company, when we're not even wanting to talk to him in the first interview because we were so burnt out from interviewing, but it was just kind of like a gut, like, decisively moving on to the next stage with him. Like, oh yeah, boom.
Yes. Yeah. And I do feel like, kind of waffling and, having all of that like time to make decisions is going to actually screw you up. Like you're going to end up delaying things or missing opportunities that you would have otherwise been able to like kind of grab the bull by the horns if you're sitting there indecisive forever.
I like what you wrote here. Glory favors those who decide.
Yeah, I think so. Because you are stuck in purgatory if you are indecisive. You're just stuck.
Indecision will kill you before the wrong decision does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody respects that if you're not decisive.
Yes,
it's just
exactly.
kind of like, all right, crap or get off the pot.
That's true, actually, for like not just entrepreneurs, but leadership in general. Like if you are somebody who, everybody is looking, because this is kind of like this is a good quality to have for like leaders and entrepreneurs. So if you don't have it and you have a team under you, people are looking to you to make that decision because maybe there is a group of people who it's like, I am kind of indecisive. I'd like to be told the direction. That's why I'm following you. And if you're not decisive, they're kind of like, do I trust this guy if he can't like make a decision? Like I'll follow you, but
you're in a
make
battle.
The decision.
Are you going to charge forward or retreat? Imagine just standing there and doing nothing.
Exactly.
Get out of here.
Exactly.
On to the next thing. So you're comfortable with the unknown, and oh boy, is that the life of entrepreneurship.
Again, though, I feel like as I'm rereading these are all also learned. Like you can have it naturally. This would be a great sign, but it's not to say that you're going to. You either have it or you don't. When you become an entrepreneur, it doesn't get better. This is kind of the level you'll be at. You have a signal that you're comfortable with the unknown, and then you get into entrepreneurship, and then you just expand on that. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, keep talking because I'm looking for something.
So I get worried when people talk about, so many people constantly talk to us about getting into business for themselves. And then they're kind of talking about, like, I need X, Y, and Z to happen. I need the stars to align. I need my birthday to fall on a Saturday, and then I will, start my business. And it's such a rocky road, entrepreneurship. Like, good freaking luck. You cannot, like, wait for things to be perfectly lined up for you. It's never going to happen, so you're never going to start your business. But if you are comfortable kind of with, like, you know what? I chose this way. I chose entrepreneurship, but I don't know what's around the corner. Like, I can't see past the trees, but I'm going to just keep walking and taking steps forward. If you're comfortable with that, that's all entrepreneurship is. I am for being in the same industry, I am constantly shocked at how much is, like, still around the corner that we have to learn. There's never a day or a week or a month where I'm like, wow, that's the same shit, different day. Like, nope, every day, something new, something I didn't know, something I had to learn or expand on. So
I saw this the other day, and I saw quite a few of my entrepreneurial friends share this. Is your girl, Layla Hormozy, said, if you want your day to go as planned, don't own a business.
That's the truth.
That's being comfortable with the unknown, because literally you think everything's going to align for, I'm going to do this, this, and this today. And then all of a sudden, oh, shoot, you have a rough one-on-one from one of your people. And you have to spend the next 4 hours thinking about, oh, shoot, what are we going to do from here?
Yep.
And it's like everything you had planned for those other 4 hours are just out the window.
That's so
but,
true.
If you need a perfectly paved path, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
And this would not, so being comfortable with the unknown isn't kind of an excuse to like jump into entrepreneurship and not make plans, I would say. Because planning is very important, and kind of like just knowing though that there is an unknown and there's a kind of like unruliness to being an entrepreneur, and you're never really going to have the plan that you wanted executed. And I would actually say that most of the time, if our exact initial business plan that we executed actually came to fruition, I would be less happy today because of all the kind of like turns and ways we've taken it as we've gone. It's been a lot more beautiful. And so I think even now, you might have that spark of like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a little risk. I'm okay with not knowing. Okay, get into entrepreneurship. And that's, again, you're totally going to expand on that. Because I wasn't as comfortable before, but now I have become comfortable with the uncomfortable. It is just natural now. It's like, it is the expected.
Oh, yeah. During this, whole LaGrange project we have going, to recap for people probably first time listening, April of 22, buying a building. It's now August of 24, and we have probably like 14 more weeks of build out to go on the project. So it's a slow burn. We'll say that much. But people came to me like a year ago, like, how's it going? I was like, well, I'm not necessarily happy about how it's going, but mentally I'm fine because I've done this long enough to understand that sometimes things don't go according to plan, like most of the time, you know? So,
And I would actually say what's awesome about this as a signal of entrepreneurship, being, comfortable with the uncomfortable or the unknown, would be that you have kind of this like ability to manage your emotions that other people don't. I have noticed there have been things that I think people who aren't entrepreneurs, that if they were faced with those kind of decisions or hardships, would fly off the handle, go absolutely like mental, and, like want to murder everybody around them. And I can manage those things with an emotional range of like, I'm pissed off, I'm over it, let's go. Like, wouldn't you say, like, there are people who it's like, I didn't get my freaking fries, like they'll fly off the handle because of something so small. And I'm like, the things that we deal with as entrepreneurs, that is not a thing for us. Like it just doesn't bother me as much because it's.
Oh, don't worry. I'm still an idiot from time to time, but you're right. That does help manage those things.
Yes.
What was your last thing there? So when you miss a turn, your GPS reroutes. It doesn't shut down.
Yeah. So exactly. So being comfortable with the unknown. It's like if you put in A to B and your GPS is heading towards B, just because you are now, you took the wrong turn, or you're going a different direction, and it's an unknown direction to you, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden, like, your journey's done. Like, oh, because I didn't go right, I went left. No, your GPS will just go, okay, we're going to reroute for that. We're going to end up at B. So as you're building your business, there's going to be a lot of that, the unknowns, and it's going to reroute you. Like, it doesn't change the final destination, whatever your goal is. I want to have $100 million company. I want to, franchise. I want to own so many businesses that I can, kind of hire out everything and be with my family 100% of the time. Whatever that end goal is, you can get there 1,200 ways.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable knowing that you won't know exactly which way it'll be.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's move on to the next one. So how to know if you're ready to be an entrepreneur. Number 4 is you're not a perfectionist.
Yeah. And I think this one is difficult for people because there are a lot of kind of businesses where like this level of like excellence, kind of close to perfectionism, maybe is required. Like I'm thinking like surgical equipment, like things like that, where it's like there is a level of like precision and whatever. But I'm talking about just like you and kind of what you expect has to be perfect. That's never going to happen. So if you kind of have your life together in a way that you feel good about, and it's perfect to you, or it's close, and you don't have many you know, things that like fires and whatever in your current life, and you really like that, entrepreneurship isn't for you. And there's no, I don't know. A lot of people are obsessed with the idea of perfectionism. I feel like it's waning a little bit because there's been so much anti-perfectionist
And everything
talk.
is so fast moving these days. It's like,
Yes.
you just got to get out before blah.
Yes, exactly. But still there is kind of that level of like, I want this to be perfect. And actually the people who are obsessed with things being perfect, I've found kind of execute the most poorly.
Honestly, this is still one we need to go get better at ourselves.
Yeah.
Like if I look at one place of weakness for us when it comes to perfection, what would you say? I'm sure there's many options, so I'll just say what I was going to say.
You tell me.
Our merch game.
Yeah.
What year is it? We're 11 years in, and we made shirts. We had shirts the first day we freaking opened. We had this and that. You know, we've had some shirts along the way and stuff like that, but we've been shirtless since we coming to Lamont, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, oh, it needs to be perfect, blah, blah. You know,
I actually disagree that it needs to be perfect. I think that one has just been it's always been like the lower tier of priorities. When we look at the
I don't know. We really care about what we put out into the world. You know, I don't want to just put it on the cheapest quality T-shirt just to get something out and be done with it.
True.
Because I know that I'll just look at it and throw it to the side.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
So now we're held accountable by you, the Fire Ready Aim podcast listener. So yeah, I know Alex. I'm sure Alex, you'll get back to me and say, John, where's my shirt? You know.
But yeah, I think entrepreneurship is all about progress and making progress on yourself, making progress on your business, and perfectionism and progress are just at odds. You can't go for both because being in progress means a mess, and perfectionism is always buttoned up, but progress goes further. You know, perfectionism stops at a certain point. So
Absolutely. I think of one of the harder professions and brain types to be an entrepreneur. And I know there's a million of entrepreneurs that are engineers, but I know my friends who are, like my friend Caleb, like how difficult is it? Because when you're an engineer and you're inventing and you're doing this and that, he's working on important things. Like he used to be in the automobile field. If they screw up that transmission and they make 1 million of those,
yeah,
holy cow.
Yeah.
So I could see, like, I'm kind of glad I'm just, I don't have that background of like, because it's a lot easier to just be like progress. Let's just get progress. Let's start trudging our way forward at least, you know.
Yeah. That kind of wires your brain a little bit towards perfectionism.
Yes.
But then also those are the perfect like tinkerers and people who make the ultimate product.
Who can actually do something really big.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. But yeah, it can wire your brain. You just have to unwire total perfection. Like you can definitely, there's a difference between perfection, which is unfreaking attainable, and excellence.
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
All right, so you're willing to embarrass yourself is number 5.
This one is so true, and this is everybody nowadays. It's interesting because you'll see people on like TikTok who are super successful, and you think because you've watched the last 3 episodes of their content that life is like amazing and they are incredible and there's nothing wrong with them. If you scroll back far enough, I'm sure if they haven't archived it, they have plenty of content or, like a kind of trail of business mistakes that they've made that have kind of brought them to this point. And I don't think anybody who is kind of not willing to embarrass themselves on some level, trying new things, putting themselves out there, being an entrepreneur is kind of like the world stage a little bit, whatever your business is. Like we owning a restaurant basically attract like public ridicule. Like if we put out like one bad pizza, we're like mocked for it, and you have to be okay with that. Like, that is just for us now. That sort of criticism is just, we know it's going to make us better. It doesn't necessarily embarrass us anymore. It used to.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's just something you have to like know, not be like, I'm fucking thrilled to be embarrassed becoming an entrepreneur, but I think, you do have to be at least willing and knowing that it's coming.
Yeah, I'd say like something about that too. Like you're willing, I don't know. Just you brought up the influencers and entrepreneurial influencers, and I would say that just watching the perfection because you've only seen their latest stuff. Even to me, because some people have told me they think like we are a successful entrepreneurial people at this point in life.
Lols.
Where I still don't. I don't know. I've been part of this natural progression where I just feel like who I am years ago too.
Yeah.
At the same time, but even I look at some of those videos and I'm like, dang, I'm kind of like in a paralysis of like, wow, they're so amazing and stuff like that. But yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, and they're putting themselves out there, and you're seeing their best version now.
Yeah. There's a couple good quotes I found. So this one is from Reid Hoffman. He was one of the founders of LinkedIn. And he said, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. And I love that because we had so much reason to be embarrassed when we opened Wooden Paddle. It was awful.
We had a lot of reason to be embarrassed, but also no idea at the time to be embarrassed because we were just so high on life of doing something new
all the
and
pieces
exciting.
we were putting out.
All that, yeah, but at the same time, we were still like so proud. If I would look back at a restaurant opening like that now, I'd be like, oh boy, these people are out of their mind.
Yeah.
But that was just like where we were at in life at that point as 25
Well, yeah, and we were willing to, I think at that point, we were willing to just like try.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, 10
We've been doing
days.
something that wasn't working for so long, for 5 years.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
need to just do something else.
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the perfectionism thing. Like if you are waiting kind of for the perfect, you're going to make the absolute perfect horse and buggy when the car's already been invented. Like that is kind of where you'll be if you're not willing to embarrass yourself. I also have a quote from Gary Vaynerchuk. Say Gary. That's his alter ego. He said, to be good at something, you have to be willing to be bad, which I loved. And then he also said, people always ask, am I good at this thing? But they should be asking, am I willing to tolerate being bad for long enough that I get good?
Oh, that's where I feel like in media stuff, because like doing a podcast does not feel natural.
No.
Making the documentary that like weekly episodes that we are for our LaGrange build out right now. In the beginning, it didn't feel good at all. And now I'm starting to see some of these episodes. I'm like, dang, this is starting to get like interesting and good. The view count, still not even close to where I want it to be. Just today.
We're
It's like
embarrassing ourselves. How much work we put into those, and then
Oh
we're
my
like
gosh.
10 views, and 9 of them were his mom.
Yeah, exactly. That was literally right before we started recording this podcast. It was like awesome. We released this about 48 hours ago, and it has 10 views on YouTube. Awesome.
I just need to ask: do you start getting advertising money at like 11 views, or because they haven't reached out yet?
Boy, yeah, nobody cares.
But I think that's it, right? Like you get the reps. And then you kind of get the like embarrassing ick out of the way. And then all of a sudden you're, a media mogul or you're a business mogul because you were willing to kind of embarrass yourself along the way. Like, do you really think people who sell door to door, sell their product or like go on Shark Tank and like get no's from everybody, like if they weren't willing to embarrass themselves, they'd be nowhere because they'd be like, I'm too scared to go on Shark Tank. Well, even if you didn't get something from the sharks, now everybody knows about your freaking business.
There's a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, which I love. And I'm always so proud of people who are like kind of just willing to put it out there because it's like you getting the reps, you're going to do better than anybody who's like, well, I'll wait until I have I've trained myself in front of the camera or I've taken all these sales classes so I can get a yes every time I knock on the door. Good luck. Like you have to be willing to embarrass yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
no shame.
Embarrass yourself right now, Bree. Do something funny. No, I'm just kidding. So next thing, number 6, you're ready to take a step back so you can take a step forward.
Oof. So this one is, first of all, I'm very thankful that we started our business at 22 because there was no stepping back. It was literally like, I'm broke as hell. I'm going to be broke as hell again. Like, there's no difference to me. But I think for people who have worked in a career for a little bit, and maybe they probably, because they have this like dream of entrepreneurship, they might be higher ups in their company. They're probably achievers. They're good at what they do. So they've built this like lifestyle that might not, while they're becoming entrepreneurs, that they might not be able to like hold, or the transition, kind of the like work-life balance, or the kind of amenities they've had in life of like luxurious vacations and all this time off. They're not going to be able to do both and so if you are obsessed with your kind of like cushy lifestyle, and you're not willing to take kind of a temporary step back to then take a step forward, because entrepreneurship, if you do it right, you're going to make more money, you're going to have more time, but a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And it is tough. Like, I could see right now, if we had worked, like, that would be freaking hard.
I feel like
we're only 35 and 36.
We are mentally strong people, and we could put ourselves through a lot to get to where we want to go. But even that being said, that'd be so difficult at this point of having like a lifestyle of this and that, to take that step back and just eat a crap sandwich every day.
What?
Like, that's what it can be as an entrepreneur sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Constant issues,
Eating crap sandwich.
And you said you're thankful to start at 22. Well, I was thankful to start at 20, 2 years before we got married.
Yeah, that's
running
true.
The business. I was able to take many steps back, not just one.
Yeah.
I was able, like, when I went into business when I was 20 years old and like 20 and 4 months old, and buying an existing business at that point and thinking I was just going to absolutely crush it. I was going to buy a house before my friends even graduated high school. Or I'm college, I should say.
You should mention the lease, like the apartment.
Oh, yeah. When I moved out of my mom's, so when I bought my first business, my mom put up her house, a second mortgage on her house, and I bought a restaurant, a failing restaurant. I was the fifth owner in 4 years that was like an hour and a half south of where my mom lived.
The person who sold that to you can sell.
They can sell. There's a sucker born every day, like whatever minute. But basically, I went to find an apartment down where I was going to move to. And I went to the landlord. I was like, "You do 3-month leases? Because I'm a business owner now. I'm going to be buying a house in like 3 months, most likely." And I ended up living there for
10 years later.
a decade in that same one
Had
bedroom
our first
apartment.
Child in that apartment.
Oh yeah,
oh my God.
That was a great time, and a time where I was able to be humbled. So what I was trying to get to though, taking that step back was 2 years for me until you got involved in the business, and then you were able to take about 4 months of steps back and just like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Like, you really don't know what you're doing here. To our first educational thing of going to the Pizza Expo in spring of 2011.
Yeah,
and that was when taking a step forward. We were able to actually improve things because we actually had knowledge to do something at that point. It was kind of cool.
And I would say, this one, you have to be, like, if you're married, your spouse has to be on board.
Oh, 100, yeah.
Because if you do have this, like, cushy lifestyle, this would be helpful if you're good at selling, because you're going to need to sell your husband or wife on the idea of eating crap sandwiches every day, maybe moving to a smaller house. You're not going to see me on the weekends, XYZ. But in the future, I'm going to sell the vision of what this could be for us. And also, the incredible thing is like, you can do all of this, and it could just completely blow up in your face. Like, entrepreneurship is not guaranteed. So you could, that is the risk you're willing to take too. So it's tough.
One cool thing about owning a business is that all the time you're making changes and growing a business, and you're improving your salary. So for many years, you might look at some of your friends like, what the heck? It would be so much easier if we had a 9 to 5, because look at the salary they're making now. But it's been kind of nice over the years to actually catch up on salary, but also at the same time, equity being built. So you actually own something at the end of the day. You could sell, if things came to it, you could sell stuff too.
Yes.
So it's like
you can't sell your job.
You can't sell your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So our last one, number 7, you do not give up easily. And boy, you need tenacity to be an entrepreneur.
Yes, agreed. I think really this is one of like the keystone, habits that separates like successful people from unsuccessful people, is I feel like everyone is faced with the same hardships, the same choices, the same decisions, and unsuccessful people just stop and successful people just keep going. Like that's literally the only difference. So I don't know. It's like you kind of have to have that in you. So I would almost, this one, you'll notice this with some entrepreneurs. There'll be people who have this like pipe dream, you know, they shouldn't be an entrepreneur, but they hate their boss and I can do it better and yada, yada, yada. And they open a coffee shop and they close 2 years later because they realize how hard it is. But if you're somebody who doesn't give up easily and or you're selling something you're super passionate about or you really love what you do, and that's kind of an asterisk, get into that because that'll make everything else easier, then you won't give up because there was so much like crap thrown at us and, you know, so much that we had to like kind of deal with, and there's no, you know, somebody else there to kind of help. Like, it's going to be okay. I don't know if it's going to be okay. I don't know if this is going to, you know, completely implode. But, yeah, I think we just had the kind of mentality of like, I'm not going to give up. I'll divert, I'll reroute, I'll change some things. I will completely eliminate some things. I'll do whatever it takes, but I'm not going to freaking give up.
Yeah, we were to that point of not being willing to give up, where we brought on a consultant, and the consultant looked at all of our numbers, and they said, I've only given out this advice twice, but you should close. That's my advice for you. And you and me, we're just like, that's not an option. Come on, are you crazy? Of course we're not closing. That'd be admitting failure. And also, you know, my mom's house second mortgage was not paid at that point. You know, it was like, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, I remember getting a bill we owed for the business like $60,000, I think, and I remember it was just kind of this like bill we paid every month, but I didn't really think about it.
And that was the second mortgage bill.
Yes, but that came in and it was like, this is due in full in 5 years, and I think at that point, together, we were able to scrape like $20,000 a year to pay ourselves.
So math doesn't math here. We're going to be, we'll have that. 5 years isn't enough.
And that was like full, like that was like it. Like we have spent every dollar in the business. There's no such thing as profit like that. I mean, we were working 80-hour weeks. We couldn't replace ourselves with somebody else as an equivalent wage because nobody's going to work for sub-minimum wage. And so we were like,
Except for us.
We
don't
give up
because we're stupid. Well, honestly,
we'll work for $4 an hour.
It's kind of nice being stupid enough to keep going.
Yeah, that's true. There is kind of that. Actually, if you are a little stupid, you're probably ripe for entrepreneurship. No, but it's true because we did kind of have that like, no, I can figure it out. Like, I'm not going to give up. And so many other people would have been like, what the hell? Like, life is hard for you. You're making no money. Like, why keep going? Like, you have options. You're young. You could go back to school. We got that advice so many times. Why don't you just go back to school? Why do you work 7 days a week? What's the point? You're not making money. You're living in a shit apartment. Like, what is the point of all of this? We just didn't give up. I'm proud of us for that. Hell yeah.
Let's go. All right. Well, that's any other thing you want to touch on this episode?
No, I think that's 7 signs. So you can sell. You are decisive. You are comfortable with the unknown. You're not a perfectionist. You're willing to embarrass yourself. You're ready to take a step back to take a step forward, and you don't give up easily. I mean, there's more, right?
And like, what you're trying to say,
signs, but
if you have those 7 things, you're ready to be an entrepreneur. And it's going to be easy from there. No, it's not. Definitely not. Just
oh my God.
Getting on the life of, you know, just being hit in the face every day, basically. Yeah. But, you know, it can get better. Just know that. It can get better at a certain point.
Yep.
Especially if you work hard enough and smart enough along the way.
100%.
So, yeah. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode. You know, we had a good time.
God only knows. We'll put it on.
It's number 7. I will say that.
Okay.
Yeah, right. But if you like this or found it valuable, please share this with other entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs crazy enough to be married to their business partner, like these 2 idiots right here. So
we're really speaking into existence that we're like morons.
Yeah.
By how many times we've said it this episode.
Well, we might not be morons, but we're definitely self-deprecating. That's for sure. So
it makes me more likable.
but yeah, we just want to thank our sponsors on this episode. We want to thank Wooden Paddle. Thank you, Wooden Paddle.
Yes.
Thank you, Remy.
Remy Event Venue, just throwing in all the money they don't have yet.
Thank you, Folklore Coffee.
Yes,
we appreciate
for
it.
caffeinating us. Well.
Yep, and we look
And
forward
I want
to
to thank me. Just kidding.
Well,
We're not going to go there. We already did the closing. Thank you so much for listening.
Have a great week.